The views and opinions shared on TumbleDry Pod are just that, views and Mo's opinions. They are not fact. They are not prescriptive advice. Honey, they are not gospel. I mean, unless it's the gospel of Mo. No, just kidding. It's not gospel, right? Just one work besties take from the low heat setting of leading in life. We're not lawyers, doctors, therapists, or HR reps, unless we bring them on. And even then, it is still just a conversation, not a consultation. All stories are either fictional, anonymized, or told with love and lessons in mind. I repeat, if it sounds like you, your boss, your job, or whatever, that's between you and your dryer. With love and always, y'all, Mo. It is episode number 1. That's right, Uno. We are here. What I'm going to do today is honestly introduce y'all to who I am and, what TumbleDry Pod is about, and then kick off our first episode. So, right off the bat, what is TumbleDry and what are we talking about? Is it laundry day or what? The answer is yes, it is laundry day. And I really do hope that y'all are prepared to do the work, okay, which is AKA this laundry. So, first of all, TumbleDry, right, is a part of my brand. I am the founder and CEO of TumbleDry Low. So y'all can go to TumbleDryLow.com and check that out. But essentially what it is me creating my own quote unquote dryer. So what is a dryer? A dryer is a workplace, right? Think of your workplace as your dryer. And y'all, that metaphor spoke to my heart. And so I decided to create my business around it. And also most of the things that I'll talk about with y'all will be from the idea of a laundry, a dryer, sort of metaphors in one. But ultimately, I think most of y'all will understand what it is that I'm talking about. TumbleDry Low. The first thing for me was that it was a reminder to myself to treat myself with care, right? Be kind to yourself. And oftentimes, the inner thoughts that I would have weren't as kind as I wanted them or needed them to be. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. Okay. For folks who are into the whole Myers-Briggs thing, I was an ENFJ. Lord, after working under what I call high heat leader for so much time, and then just in general, maybe coming into my own, I don't know. I turned into an ENTP, y'all, to a debater. Okay. I didn't went from, to like, hold on, wait a second. And I'm in battle, right? I'm in crises. And so I decided that as much as I loved my colleagues, shout out to the work besties, as much as I loved my students, as much as I loved the clients, what I didn't love was the high heat temperature, right, if you will, of how some of our leaders showed up. And y'all, I was quote unquote like at the upper echelon, if you will, of leadership. In one institution, I served on the senior cabinet, right? I was the first and only Black woman at that time at a senior leadership level on the East Coast. And in one of my last recent jobs, I wasn't on the senior cabinet, but I reported into someone who was. So when I talk to you about my perspective and understanding leadership, it is really from lived experience, number one. But it's also from the reality of like, if we work hard enough, we can get there. As they say, create your own table or get called to the table. Well, TumbleDry Low, y'all, is my way of creating my own table, right? And so, long story short, after really just sort of working in different dryers in different workplaces, I realized that I needed to take better care of myself and I needed to show up first for me. And so it's like, Monique, how can you take care of other people if you're not taking care of yourself? Right. And so that TumbleDry Low is really a mantra to myself to be kind to myself. And when I'm kind to myself, when I'm caring and compassionate, I can be more caring and more compassionate to others. And so the TumbleDry Pie, I was really born out of that. It was born out of this desire of, okay, Monique, you have left corporate America. You have left higher education and now you want to start your own business. Honey, you are first gen, okay? First gen college student, shout out. First gen professional, shout out. You're all of these things. And so I know exactly what it's like to be first and to sort of embark on a journey that you don't really know where it's going. And so y'all, when I tell you that, number one, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I mean, that was never on my radar. Okay. I wanted stability. I want to work for somebody. I want to work with somebody. I want my friends at work. I need my work besties next to me. But I never thought to start my own until I had enough experiences that really showed me that, nah, sis, we need our own dryers, right? Nah, sis, we create our own tables, right? We show up our best when we create the environments, honestly, that best understand and see us. And so, not to get all belabored in that, but I just think it's important to do some level setting, right? So that y'all are able to really stay with me and follow me as I start playing with this metaphor. Things that I find interesting and that I'm just going to share. Who is Mo more about her? Again, I'm originally born and raised in the Midwest. I have spent my career, felt like navigating naturally out east, and now I am somewhere southwest. But ultimately, who I am is just a human. Number one, okay, I'm like y'all, right? I'm human. I am not perfect, but I am here every day trying to be better. I am an extrovert. My favorite color is pink, but I rock a lot of black. Okay, pink on the nails. And I am just again someone who wants to be more authentic and better every day. And so I want to make sure I also am someone. I have ADHD, right? I found out what 3, 4 years ago that I have ADHD. And I guess in all this time I've been really functioning high, and figuring out how to do my own executive functioning, how to, create my own workarounds. But honestly, once I received that diagnosis, it really allowed for me to kind of, okay, understand myself better and pivot from that. You feel me? And so what does it mean to be a CEO and founder who also has ADHD, who is also extrovert, who is also a middle child, who is also the favorite child? Okay, I hope my parents are listening. I just want to put that plug in there in case it is and can be true. But no, honestly, y'all, I'm just me. And honestly, I love who I am. I did not always feel that way, but I feel that way more and more every day. And I'm just grateful to be here. And I wanted to make sure that I started Tumble Dry podcast to remind you all, other leaders out there, like, number one, be kind to yourself, right? Give yourself grace. You're going to make mistakes, but I pray that you are at least aware enough to want to change that and show up better. Okay. The other part of that I want to kind of like speak to is I'm also the employee who knows what it's like to be under high heat leaders, right? I'm also someone who knows what it's like to be in what I would call an unhealthy, unsupportive workplace. What do you do when your work besties, or your people, if you will, are the only ones that are keeping you going, right? What do you do when the work is working your nerves, right? What do you do when and in my field, right, because I identify as a DEI practitioner, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. I am people centered, belonging centered, right? I am someone that feels like in all that we do, we should make sure that people feel seen, heard, valued, understood, able to contribute, right? Their best, right? Show up as their most amazing, authentic self. But oftentimes in the workplace, do we really create the room for that? Do we really allow for people to show up and be their best selves? Y'all know the answer to that. Drop the answer in the comments and y'all know the answer to that, right? And that's just for yourself. Some folks are saying, yeah, girl, we can do that here. And most folks are like, nah, nope, not really. But again, my hope is to make sure that in all that I do and everywhere I go, that I am creating spaces where people can and do show up as their best. I want to just make sure that when I say dryer, I'm talking about workplaces. I may also talk about things like high heat managers. These are people who are not showing up as their best and whose leadership styles are often causing harm to others. And it also is a play on this idea of, right, tumble dry low, because I deeply believe that there is a way to lead from a low heat perspective where you're still producing, right? And where you're still effective, and where you're still human and people centered, right? Where the bottom line is still intact. Low heat leadership is not, okay, girl, let's just let them get away with it. Let's just be okay with it. Like, calm down. Like, it's all right. No, right? Low heat leadership is about intentionality, right? It is about awareness. It is about showing up your best and also creating this type of environment where others can also be their best, right? And oftentimes when we have what was called those high heat leaders, they're too self-focused, right? They have stayed on the self too much, and they have not navigated to the awareness of others. And so it's great that you know yourself, we hope, but it is not great how you show up for me, right? It is not great how you lead in ways that cause harm, right? And by harm, I am meaning any and everything from making your colleagues and employees feel unseen, unheard, unvalued. Like literally, there are people who I know, and I was one of those people that like anytime I had a meeting with that person, right, that boss, that whoever, I was like, oh God, like it just drained me, right? Um, and I'm just curious, like, if you feel like, Monique, I get it, honey, I have been there. Like, go ahead and give me a shout out. Give me a like if you have had a boss, I'm gonna call him a boss, right? Or a supervisor who really just did not see you or show up for you or, create space for you and who you are and who you were, right? I think we all can think about that. I call them, unfortunately, the best word I'm going to say is bad bosses, right? And I'm not talking about bad bosses and Bad Bunny. I'm talking about I had a poor performing boss. I had someone who made my job harder simply for being just simply by being and showing up in ways that were harmful, right? And so I just want to make sure that y'all know that this podcast is really for you, right? It is in some ways for the leaders because I hope they're listening, and it is for the organizations or AKA the dryers because y'all need to be listening. You all need to be thinking thoughtfully about you know, how you show up and what conditions you're creating for, let's say, your clothes. So if you are a work bestie, if you are an employee, even if, wherever you fall in that spectrum, I give you the sort of, I'll use a metaphor and say clothes, right? And I think about my favorite jeans. Oh, they're too small now. But I think about my favorite jeans. I think about my favorite tops. Y'all, I am a recovering shopaholic. And so I think about, what I can literally, which is really sad, give you details on when I bought something, what store it came from, how much it cost, and the feeling I felt when I bought it. Hence the idea and the reality of recovering, y'all, because I'm trying to do better, right? I'm trying to be better with the coins. But I'm also just saying that I give and put a lot of care and love in my clothes, right? Like my mom and my grandma, like the way that they taught me to wash and fold clothes and to treat things with care and quality. Like it doesn't have to cost $5,000, right? It could have cost $5, but the way that you treat that item, right, demonstrates more about who you are, your integrity, your character, your value of it than anything. And so I'm taking a lot of those principles with me. And so when I refer to, employees or colleagues or whatnot as clothing and sort of, fabric, if you will, what I'm ultimately saying is that I care for you deeply, right? Mo cares for you deeply and that you should be cared for deeply, right? Also is this idea that most times when y'all buy clothes, don't they come with care instructions? Right? Like literally, y'all might buy a clothing item, and usually there's a tag embedded somewhere, and it may say something like, um, hand wash, tumble dry low. Wink, wink. Dead serious. It says that. It may say something like, wash with similar colors. It may say something to the point of, warm water. Do not add bleach. Like either way, each of us, right? Each of us come with care instructions. Each of us come with specific things that should be done so that we shine the brightest, so that we are the sturdiest, so that we last, right, over time. And so that we are quote unquote our best selves. And so all we're asking for is if you are a supervisor or a boss and you're working with me, can you show up in ways that lets me be my best self, right? Can you create the environment? If you're an organization and you are these companies and you're a dryer, can you create the conditions so that I can be my best self? If my tag says tumble dry low, aka I'm delicate, okay, I am awesome and yet I'm delicate and I also perform. Please don't put me in there with other clothing that require high heat, right? This is not a sheets and towel cycle, right? What this is saying I need to be separate. I need to be treated thoughtfully. And on and on and on, right? And so what I basically want to make sure that I'm doing again is just number one, reminding y'all of your greatness, reminding you that when you were picked off of that rack or selected, or let's say you were picked up at that thrift store, or when your parent or your sibling or whoever gifted it to you, or when you took it from them and haven't gave it back yet. Sorry, mom, if you heard that. Is this your shirt? Okay, this is mine. But my point is when that happens, you should be taking care of it, right? Like you wanted it, and you remember how special you felt when you got it, and or you remember how special it felt. Now, even if you happen to be one of those numerous packs of socks that most parents give around the holidays, aka Christmas. Even if you're like, look, I got a pair of socks that I did not want for Christmas, or I got clothes for Christmas and I wanted toys. Either way, it deserves to be cared for. And for all the folks that are like, Monique, I don't even celebrate Christmas. Like that's totally fine. But you probably have been given something that was a clothing item that deserved to be treated with care and quality. And that's really all I'm asking for, right? That's all this business, TumbleDry Low, is about. But the podcast is about, and what happens when? What happens when we're not treated with a level of care and kindness and intentionality? What happens to those literally beautiful, sturdy, amazing clothes when they are improperly cared for, right? And so that is the essence of it. So if you've never heard of TumbleDry Low or TumbleDry Pod, you are hearing it now. I, of course, want to encourage y'all to like, subscribe, share, follow me, right? Share it, get the word out, because I'm here to stay. And what I realize is that I would rather create my own dryer and operate within it or improve those conditions than to continue to navigate to one bad dryer after another bad dryer after another bad dryer. And honestly, y'all, sometimes these dryers aren't bad. These dryers could be perfectly well. I left an institution, and I'm calling it an institution, but I left a dryer that I really loved. Like my peeps, my people, my students, like I was like, oh my God, like I left that literally because of a high heat boss, right? Manager, persons and people who aren't aware of themselves, and maybe they are, right? Maybe they are. Like the people weren't bad people, right? Like the supervisors who show up in that sort of high heat culture, or show up as high heat people, they're not bad. Like I don't think that person meant to cause me harm. However, your practices did, right? And so what do we do when we've had enough? And so today, episode one, y'all, is really introductory, right? It is really giving y'all an opportunity to understand what the pod is about, to understand what Tumble Dry is about. And it gives you an opportunity to really decide, you know what? Like, yeah, I am someone, I work somewhere, and I deserve to be treated with the level of care and kindness and compassion that I shouldn't have to ask for, right? And so that's pretty much what it is. If y'all have any questions, again, I really encourage y'all to definitely drop some questions and comments in the chat. The other thing that I really need from y'all, because I'm going to switch gears and tell you about and sort of do the full episode. But the one thing I want to say is I'm about to introduce y'all to what I call dryer stories. Okay. Dryer stories are, what are the experiences happening within y'all workplaces? Like, what's going on? Like, do you have one of those low heat, amazing supervisors? Or are you being, and have you been, unfortunately, shepherded by one of those high heat ones, right? Are you someone who realizes that I've been here 10 years, I have been doing my thing, and this supervisor has still been problematic, right? Are you someone that's like, listen, I only been here 6 months and I'm wondering, can I stay? Those are things that we have to think about, right? And for the people who are in positions to quote unquote run or maintenance the dryers, right? The people at the top, it's like, y'all need to be paying attention, because this is leading to high rates of turnover. This is leading to high rates of employee dissatisfaction, right? Low engagement. This is leading to client dissatisfaction. Like this is leading to all sorts of things because y'all are overlooking or not acknowledging the fact that, okay, maybe the dryer setting has been turned to high heat, right? Maybe that is the natural setting that we have it on, and we need to just adjust it to medium or low, right? Sometimes it's necessary for you to do a check, right? And to make sure, is the system still functioning? Have y'all actually checked the lint drawer lately? Let me check this little lint rack and this lint drawer, right? Let me make sure I'm not trying to cause a fire because I didn't check the lint trap of a dryer, right? Have y'all made sure that when the load was done that y'all didn't leave it in there for 5 days? No, nobody respond right now at that issue because sometimes we do forget. Oh my gosh, I washed clothes a week ago, and that's where my favorite shirt is, right? Left, forgotten about. And so what I really want to make sure that, like that we're being thoughtful and mindful of how we're engaging and treating clothes, because ultimately what we don't want is to see our favorite things, right? Our most amazing things be tarnished, be ripped, be soiled, be ruined by being forgotten about. And so I really invite y'all to really just check in, tap in. Let me know your dryer stories, right? Let me know about the things that go well within workplaces that really need to be highlighted and talked about. And also let me know the things that are problematic that need to be addressed, right? Because the funny thing is what it's not really funny, y'all. That's just some phrase that I say. But the truth, my truth is that no matter the workplace, no matter the intentionality that I put in even selecting the workplace. Like I am somebody that, before I buy that dryer, y'all, I have looked at its manual, aka its strategic plan, right? I have looked at its mission. I have made sure that the values of that dryer, right, within that manual align with who I am and where I'm trying to go. I've done all of that work for to make sure that there is alignment, and still I may get into a workplace or a situation where there's a high heat manager or a high heat person who makes that dryer experience not the best, right? They happen to come in and they just wash clothes and they move quickly, but they didn't think about the fact that, oh my gosh, I have to read that person's tag to see how I show up best and better for them. So ultimately, what I'm saying is that no, not every dryer is perfect. Number one, right? They're all going to have some issues. But when we start to see prolonged issues, ongoing issues that haven't been addressed, that's when it becomes problematic, right? Because at that point, you could be scorching some of your delicates. You could be shrinking your favorite jeans, as I just got done telling y'all, I have already been there. And if I'm being really honest, y'all, some of that is not just my jeans shrinking. I mean, it could have been this waistline growing, and I blame the dryer. But maybe when you look back and you say, okay, there was maybe a 50-pound difference in body weight, perhaps that could have been it. Nah, y'all want to blame the dryer, okay? And so to my work besties that are listening, that's moments of reflection. Number one, that I want you to be thoughtful of, because sometimes it's not your dryer. Sometimes it's you. And sometimes, as much as I love y'all and I'm going to show up for y'all, I'm going to ride for y'all, sometimes you have to do the work to make sure that you're also not the reason that the dryer is not operating effectively. Or you have to make sure that you're not the reason that that favorite clothing item is no longer fitting. Because sometimes we get places and we get comfortable, right? And so TumbleDry Pod is definitely a safe and affirming space for you, but it's also a real space, right? I'm going to be real with y'all because that's the only way I know how to be. And what I want to make sure of is that I show up my best for you the same way that I'm asking you to show up your best for whoever your clients are or your students are or whoever it is you're serving. The same way that I'm asking your leaders at the top and wherever they may be, right, in these different dryers to show up best and better for you. Because when we all show up our best, a lot more things get done. And when I say show up our best, I'm not saying we don't have bad days, right? I'm not saying we don't have like days where we don't perform. Um, I'm gonna just this is random, but it feels right. Y'all, one of my favorite leggings, okay, that I wore to the gym one time. I showed up in them leggings, honey, and those leggings have held me down for at least 5 years. But on that particular day, y'all, I had a trainer and I was doing squats. And honey, I did the squat just the right way that the trainer said do it. And don't you know that those leggings split? They split, y'all, right? Yes, of course they split. Exactly where you thought they split, that's where they split. And my point is like, was it the knee? Was it the leggings? Like, what was it? All I want to know, all I want to say is there are some times that even high performers can have a moment, right? Even high performers who have showed up for you and shown up for you and been, quote unquote, that rock star, that superstar. That's as Kim Scott shout out, check that book out. It's definitely dope. But again, when those high performers drop the ball or don't always hit that mark, it don't mean that those are no longer and were never good leggings, y'all. It means that after 5 years of hitting the mark and doing all that good work, sometimes even they may have a weak moment, right? And maybe I was wrong for doing that squat in those leggings, right? Maybe those were walking leggings and not squatting leggings. This is what I want to say. I think this is a great way to kind of take a segment, y'all, because I want to make sure that we definitely hear some words from our sponsors, and so I got to leave some room in the space for them. But again, if any of the things that I am saying with y'all are resonating, and y'all like, Monique, you are on point. Mo, say less, say less. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and definitely share this with your friends, because this is the TumbleDry Pod, right? And at TumbleDry, y'all, we are going to make sure that we're putting out weekly episodes for y'all. I don't care what's going on. You're going to get some weekly episodes. And so please make sure that you follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, on Facebook, wherever it is, on all the major socials. And of course, if you're interested in, getting any services from the business, y'all know how to find that. Okay. Check it out as well. All the links are in the bio. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, y'all. Listen, we are here again. You are here with your girl, Monique LaShon. Again, at Monique.LaShon on most socials, or at Monique LaShon. Find me somewhere. But again, I am your work bestie. Okay, I am here, and that feels right for me, right? I was telling somebody when I forget where I read that at, what it said, in so many words, like, ways to measure employee engagement and employee satisfaction. And it said, do they have a work bestie? And I need to be able to find that source for y'all. I don't want to make any promises, but when I saw that, I was like, and they're showing right. Everybody deserves a work bestie, right? And honestly, y'all, I have been blessed with so many. Like in any workplace I've ever been, like I've made some amazing friends, some amazing souls. Like I take them with me. Like even though like I may leave, like when I see them, it's all love. When we catch up, it's all love. Like those are my people, right? Like again, everybody deserves a work bestie. And if you don't have one, I'll definitely be yours. And even if you do have one, can I join the group? Okay. And so I want to kind of walk y'all through what I want to talk about today. And quite honestly, y'all, it is yet again another laundry day for your leadership, right? One thing I want to say is that when I talk about leader or leadership, you don't have to have a title of a leadership title to be a leader, right? If you are someone who is influencing others, and quite honestly, y'all, that's everybody. You never know who's watching you, who is inspired by you, who pays attention to you. And so, in my opinion, we are all leaders. So, even though when I am particularly framing a lot of this conversation at leaders and organizations, I am looking at particularly those who have direct reports, or those who get to make decisions that impact more than just one person, right? And so I want to make sure that word is clear when I say it, because it could mean all of the above. But most often, I am referring to those who have decision making power, right? That impacts others. And so again, within the TumbleDry pod, we're going to keep it real, we're going to keep it classy, but we're also going to make sure that we, air out some of the things that need to be air out, fluff it out a bit, right? And so I want to make sure that we are calling people and things in with care, with compassion. And we want to make sure that people leave better as a result of listening to this podcast, right? As a result of listening to my voice and realizing that, oh my gosh, she sees my story as well. Like she understands it. She's been there. And so even if I haven't directly walked in your shoe, it's most likely that I can relate to a lot of what you're sharing, and or I can grow from what you're sharing. What's in the laundry today? Quite honestly, y'all, it's me. Okay, I want to start with myself, right? Because as I said, as they say, what's in the spin cycle? Y'all, I am on the docket today, right? It is time for me to get clean because, again, as a founder and CEO of TumbleDry Low, I also have room to grow, right? And y'all, I want y'all to know that I was in a high heat moment today. Okay. Again, this is the first time that I'm recording the podcast, and I felt like so much pressure. Shout out to my partner, y'all. He was so understanding, and he was serving as my producer and like just real patient. But I was getting anxiety, right? Like I had written out a script or some talking points of things that I knew I wanted to talk about. But as I was like getting ready for it, number one, I forgot it. Okay. I didn't like forget it, but I was like, oh my gosh, what did I say? What did I say? And then also I was like, oh, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. And I was like, ah, there we go again. There we go again. Okay. We want to disrupt and dispel perfection, right? I am actively working on interrupting that, right? Because what perfection does is that it slows me down. What perfection does is it really points out all the insecurities that I'm still working through, and perfection is not it. Okay, what we want to get to is done and we want to get to better. But perfect, y'all, no, perfect is not the goal. And so that's something that again I am working on even as I polish, right? You can polish, but we're not going to polish to perfection. I find it interesting. Number one, I think it's important to begin with yourself, right? In order to better understand other people, right? In order to be culturally competent, right? In order to be aware of how others experience and navigate the world, you have to start with yourself. So today, y'all, I am starting with me. I am starting with my dryer and some of my high heat practices that I am still working to kink out and to make sure that my setting stays at low. It's interesting that I was thinking, I was like, my goodness, like what is in the spin cycle, right? When you think about a spin cycle of a dryer drum, right? A lot of times, for me, it's like, wow, we are recreating what we know. I don't have any children, but I think about the ways in which I was parented, the ways in which my mother was parented that I was able to see, and I think about how many of those practices carried on down to me. I also think about how I had some amazing, fabulous leaders, y'all. Like I had some dope people, right? Shout out Sheila, shout out Mary, shout out Chris, shout out, Doc, shout out Nada. Like I will shout the leaders out because there were so many people that I was able to work with. And I know I'm forgetting some. Nolan, all y'all, like, at this point I'm stop saying names in case they actually watch this and are saying, what about me? But there are some folks that I am intentionally not saying your name, and please know that it is intentional. Let's move forward. That was not a low heat practice. We're talking about the spin cycle. I want us to be thoughtful around what happens in that dryer cycle. What happens, if I am your favorite t-shirt or your favorite pair of jeans or your favorite trousers, whatever it is, what is the experience of those people? And that's what we're centering, right? We are centering the human in all of this. One of my dear colleagues, y'all, her name is Akina Reed. She shared the video with me and she put it on her LinkedIn, and this is what she said in one of her talks, and it stuck to me, and I was like, I love it. She said, workplace culture doesn't happen when everything is calm. It happens when the pressure rises. I thought, oh my gosh, like, oops, she just said it. Didn't she just say it, y'all? That's what happened today, right? The pressure was rising for me because I set a goal for myself. I said, I'm going to record this by July 20th. And that created some clock for me. And all of a sudden, now I'm pressuring myself. Today is the 19th, y'all. Okay. Today is, yes, it's the 19th. But how I was operating as that deadline was coming is not our. But what I'm trying to communicate is oftentimes we create deadlines for ourselves and we set these deadlines. Sometimes they're created for us. But as it gets closer, when we're not able to prioritize and get certain things done, sometimes that can create pressure, right? And how you show up when that pressure happens is what I want to work on with y'all, right? And I'm gonna work on it with myself first, right? Monique, you're showing up in a high heat way, right? So I want y'all to think back to when the pressure was rising, even within your own workplace. And I want y'all to let me know in the comments, right? So don't tell me about your work culture in terms of, oh, it's so great here. Like, we love it. Yeah, everybody loves where they work for the first few months. And after a few years, you may still love where you work. But when we're talking about culture, I want to understand from y'all through your dryer stories or just what you're sharing in the comment, what is the culture of your own workplaces, right? What's the culture within your dryer when pressure is up? How are you showing up when that pressure rises? And then also, how are you, showing up for your colleagues and for yourself, right? So I just want to make sure that we are holding space for and creating care, right, and compassion along the journey. Let's talk about the spin cycle of leadership. This is exclusive, okay, y'all. This is coming to y'all live straight from the TumbleDry pod. This is, Mo's take on leadership styles, and in particularly the high heat leadership styles or the bad ones. There are 5 leadership styles that you want to avoid. Okay. If you're like, Monique, oh my goodness, am I a high heat manager? Like, am I a high heat boss? Well, let me just read these. If it sounds like you, just go ahead and don't drop it in the comment. I mean, you could if you feel very like vulnerable and say, I just trust this space. But maybe you don't put in the comments right now, like, oh my gosh, Monique, that's me. Just think to yourself, okay, this is a quiet reflection. Number one, the complacent leader. Okay. So the complacent leader, right? This particular leadership style is really signified by, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay. Y'all, some folks will call this the lazy leader. I mean, you didn't came into all this great work being done, and you're like, hey, there's no need to ruffle feathers. Everything is fine. Let's just keep it as is. Some folks will call it the status quo, but I'm going to call it the complacent leader because there is nothing wrong with coming in and leaving something that's not broke as is, but it is also important for you to check in with your people and to make sure that they know that you know that you care, because perhaps what was working for 5 years no longer works for year 6, year 7, year 8, and you're just like, well. And so at that point, you've gone from being complacent, and almost at first you were like, really looked at it as like empowering because you left things as it was. So that's not a bad style at first. But when you just sort of back off and leave things as is, then you move from complacency to laziness. And at that point, they're wondering, you're just plain ineffective. Okay. And if you are an ineffective leader, then you are in that high heat category because your ineffective leadership is causing stress on other people. Hence why I call it high heat. Okay. Now, number two, the savior, y'all. Now, again, these are not stages or steps. You can literally be all of these, or you can kind of float, or whatever works, but I'm going to call these the savior. This is the leadership style that I had to work through, okay, because I was over here trying to save the day, okay, and this is what some folks would say, okay, oh, you was a Project Pat type of leader. Now, if you know Project Pat, if you know the song, we're not gonna sing the quote, but again, don't save her, she don't, okay, anyways, don't save her, don't save him, don't save them, whatever it is, this is the leader that is y'all trying to just save the day. And honestly, we don't have time for that, okay? Because you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to burn your team out. You're going to undermine your team trying to be helpful, and instead you make them feel like you feel that they're incompetent. That may not be how you feel it, because you keep trying to save those people, they are feeling that way. And so when I say I had to check that, y'all, as a leader, because I come from a helping family, like we just step up, we give everything, like that's just how we are. Like if somebody's in need, we all rally, we all do that. But sometimes in the workplace, that's not always the best place for it, right? Sometimes you have to let people figure it out themselves. And you have to be able to support and coach without always do. Like, yes, show them, right? But don't do for them always, because maybe they are definitely smarter than you. Okay. They are definitely more talented than you. You are a manager, but you don't have their skills, right? Your job is to help navigate things, but y'all not, no. So my point is we want to avoid the savior leadership style. That is a high heat practice that just does not work in the workplace. And even though you think you're helping, you're really harming your team. Now, the other one is the clumsy leader, y'all. And listen, I have had this leader before. And, again, no names will be shared. No, if it sounds like we're going to move forward. But if you've been that clumsy leader, we're going to have to stop, okay? Because a clumsy leader is just as bad as a leader that is doing things intentionally, right? Unintentional harm is just as bad as intentional harm, okay? And so when I talk about the clumsy leader, these are the leaders that are moving without clarity. All right. Y'all are moving without clarity. I mean, this school did that. That company did that. This one did that. Y'all, I can't figure out who the benchmark is. Like, who are we benchmarking against? If every day there's a new benchmark. I mean, this went viral, so you said, let's do it. Now, sometimes if you're not a social media manager, then you need to kind of back off and stop creating viral programs, y'all. Can we stop with the viral programs? I mean, if I open my inbox every day and there is a new directive and a new thing to do, I mean, I didn't finish the last thing you just gave me yesterday, right? So, and also you didn't give me a budget, okay? All you had was an idea and a timeline. Oh, we should do this. I want it done by next week. But wait, what? We should do this. I want it done by end of the month. Hold on, wait a second. We plan our programs a year in advance. Like, let's make room for this, right? But anyhow, so I need y'all clumsy leaders to be more thoughtful and be more clear. And I need y'all to stop creating harm within the dryers, right? Think about it, y'all. So I have let's go back to this dryer metaphor. We're washing clothes. Now some of y'all got brave. Some of y'all were like, hey, I can put these shoes in the washer and then I'm going to throw them in the dryer. Now, I'm not judging y'all for washing y'all sneakers and y'all tennis shoes because I have tried it. Now, I'm just going to speak for myself, not for everybody else. Now, once you wash them, there are some things that just need to be left out and air dried. Y'all didn't put these shoes in the dryer and they clunky and they loud and they rubber is burning the clothes and ruining things because you didn't separate and you didn't take the time to read those care instructions to figure out how best to do this, okay? And so all I'm saying is these clumsy leaders might feel like the shoes in the dryer, and we have to be thoughtful about that. All right, so let's limit that. Now, the fourth one is the insecure leader. Okay, I mean, it feels like every time they go through the wash cycle, they lose something. Every time something happens wrong in the dryer, they lose something. They try to figure out, is it you? Like, what's going on? Like, everybody likes you, and like, and then they start trying to rival with y'all. It's like, hold on, sis, hold on, bro, hold on, person. Like, we are in the dryer together. We are working together. As I heat up and I work, I rub off on you, which should then rub off on her and him and them. And like again, we work together. But some of them start getting jealous and like, Like, have y'all ever I think about this like I washed some clothes one time and it had Velcro in it. Okay, I want to say that the insecure leader is like the Velcro in the dryer that unattached accidentally from itself. And now the Velcro done ruined your pantyhose, or now the Velcro has ruined your favorite sock, or now that Velcro done pulled a thread from one of these clothes because it was not taking care of itself, right? It released, if you will. And so those insecure leaders have to create some security, okay? Reattach yourself to yourself. Now, again, for those who wear waist trainers or vests or those things that Velcro, I feel like y'all really understand what I'm saying. And for some of y'all who are like, Velcro on clothes? Since when? We're going to move forward because I have already lost you, and I know that. We want to watch out for those insecure leaders, y'all, because that's a high heat leadership practice that we definitely don't have time for. Y'all, the fifth one is the incredible leader. Now, let's be real clear. When I say incredible, you say, yes, bro, the Incredibles. I love the Incredibles. I watch all of them. My kids love it. I dress like that for Halloween. No. Hold on, wait a second. I said the incredible leader. So I want to make sure I define that for y'all. When I'm talking about incredible, I'm saying not credible. Okay, this is the not credible leader. Okay, basically, you are difficult to believe. Okay, you didn't made a promise, didn't follow through, and now I have trust issues with you. Okay, so when we're talking about incredible, like, oh, that's so incredible. Like, no, we are saying you are incredible. Your credibility is shot. Okay, you came in, I gave you 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, honey. It's been 120 days. It's been a full year. And I'm waiting for you to deliver on what you promised during that interview session. And you haven't, okay? I'm waiting for you to hit some of those benchmarks. And you haven't. So what I'm basically saying is that is incredible that you are still here. Now let's move forward. I'm teasing. We have 5 high heat leadership styles that have to go, that have to be addressed, right? That are not stuck, right? You can fix all of these, okay? But some of y'all have been operating in this for too long or bouncing around from each different one, and I need you to understand that that's just not okay. If you are that complacent leader, cut it out. If you are that savior leader, please, okay? And I'm this mirror up to myself. I had to stop being that, y'all, okay? If you are that clumsy leader now, just slow down, okay? Slow down. Take a moment. Be thoughtful, right? If you're that insecure leader, and if you happen to be that incredible leader, we have to build some credibility, y'all. We have to get the trust back, okay? Because you have lost your team and you have lost the respect of your colleagues, and we can't have that. All right. So keep those 5 leadership styles in mind, because what I want to let you know is each of those leadership styles can find themselves caught and stuck in the lint trap. If you don't change those practices, those prolonged practices, the heat continues to turn up on those practices, and you then almost walk into or assume a label, right? But if you're in that dryer, honey, you're going to find yourself in the lint trap. The clothes don't want to be next to you. The dryer has determined you don't even need to be here because you're not adding value to our product or to our people. So you might find yourself in the lint trap. And for anybody that's ever washed clothes, when you go to a dryer, what happens to the lint trap before each load? What y'all do? I clean it out. I throw it away. Now, some of y'all have left that lint trap full too much and almost caused a fire, but we're going to move forward, okay? We're going to move forward. There are some practices that are just not okay. A lot of those practices will begin to negatively affect your clothes. And sometimes they can even cause buildup in the dryer. And now the dryer is not functioning correctly, and the clothes aren't getting what they need. And so this leadership style doesn't serve anyone, right? These leadership styles lead to what I feel like I experienced, which is burnout. Okay? You operate in that, you're going to be burned out. And if you are working with a team and showing that, you're going to burn them out. So can we cut it out? Like, I put that sheet in there and the sheet was white. And I had the temperature cut up so high, y'all, that by the end of the cycle, the sheet was yellow, okay, or a different color, right? That's because you didn't burn the sheet. You know, that beautiful shirt that you love, that you was like, oh, this beautiful lace top, burned, right? Harm. So we want to be thoughtful of those leadership styles. We want to disrupt them. I want to give you some tools and some tricks about what you can do to actually disrupt those leadership styles if you find that, oh my goodness, Monique, that might be me. I might be showing up that way. How do we combat high heat leadership styles? How do we combat high heat work environments? Well, again, I want to combat that with some low heat solutions. 2 examples of what you can do to combat any of those 5 leadership styles. I want to stop trying to be someone's boss. Okay? Think about it. Do you want to be bossed around? Yes, you. No, and I don't either, right? And neither do they. So cut it out. How about instead I try to be a leader? How about instead I try to show up, right? And so here's something that they say: leaders show, bosses know. In other words, stop thinking you have and know everything, right? Demonstrate to your people and allow for them to see, model for them, and then step back, y'all. Step off and allow for them to step up. Be a leader and not a boss, right? A leader is someone who makes room for others, that shows up, right? Get out of the way, okay? And let them do what they're great at. Build your credibility, right? You have to rebuild trust. And it is really difficult to build trust with folks that where you have consistently showed them that you are untrustworthy. So the one thing that I want to say is, in terms of, how do I, Monique, how do I build trust, right? Like, either I'm new to a team and I don't know. But one of the things that I want to say is, the benefit of building trust is that when you build trust the right way, y'all people will buy into you, and they will buy into you so much that whatever you say or whatever you do, they will be locked in with you because they trust you and they believe you, and because you haven't led them astray too often or before. So why would I not trust you and rock with you, especially if and when you read my care instructions? You know who I am. You understand what my pain points are. You understand where my challenges are. I know that when you make solutions, it is with me in mind. Oh, I trust you. Oh, Mo, we can go. Let's rock. I'm with you. Right? But when you show up in ways that are very you centered and you're not aware of others, oh, you're already eroding that trust, right? You're already not showing up in the way that they need. Credibility builds authority. When I trust you, when I believe you, when you have that increased credibility, that builds authority. And when I have authority, I don't have to boss you around. I can lead and guide you because you trust me to do that. I want to look at the data, right? When you're just talking and you're just saying, bad leaders, high leaders. No. Let me give you some data. Poor leadership costs up to 7% of revenue. This is from the Harvard Business Review, y'all, from 2024. So just last year, okay? Harvard Business Review put out a report, did some research, and it said, wait a second. When you have a poor leader, and I'm going to reframe that, when you have a high heat leader, that costs 7% of your revenue. So basically, you are a $10 million revenue making company, right? So your revenue is $10 million. Y'all, that's $700,000 gone because of poor leadership. So if you are the dryer, would you really want to keep those leadership styles around? No. Okay. It's costing you. It's costing you great people. It's costing you innovation. It's costing you so much that you don't even see. But 7%, 700,000. Here's another one, y'all. The Niagara Institute did another study, right? And they reported that poor leadership and management leads U.S. firms to losing $550 billion annually. Okay? Yes, that's a B as in boy, right? 550 billion. Okay. So poor leadership and management, right? Firms are losing money annually. This is US based. So I want y'all to look at the data, right? Some of y'all are like, Monique, I don't have to look at data. I can let you know right now. The same way that you quit your job and you decided to create your own dryer, I almost quit mine last week. Okay. The same way that, I am wondering, like, if I didn't have these kids to feed, if I didn't have this family to take care of, if my partner wasn't this, if my mom didn't need that, like, some folks are literally like, Thank goodness for these people, because if it wasn't for y'all, I would have quit a long time ago, right? People have mouths to feed. People have roofs to keep over their head. People are trying to figure out how they make ends meet, like literally. And people are having to, unfortunately, decide between their humanity and their sanity in a workplace. Now, y'all, what's that about? Like, workplaces, right, and dryers are there to help, but instead they're causing harm. And so I just want to point that out, y'all, because there are some solutions for y'all. And so if you are one of those high heat leaders, get it together. If you one of those low heat leaders, keep it together. Keep it together and keep being amazing, because we need you, right? We need you to show up as you are, your full self, because we are watching you and you inspire us and you make us feel seen and you make us feel heard and you make us feel valued, right? And if you're one of those low heat leaders, listen, I'm here to tell y'all right now that I appreciate you. I see you, making sure that you are actively working on the change, okay? So maybe you're someone that's like, oh my goodness, like, I think I am one of the people that work in these dryers, and yet I am in a decision making position. I have the ability to make some changes so that my people are not experiencing these high heat settings. This has been TumbleDry Pod, and we are fully powered by TumbleDry Low. Of course, I am the founder and CEO of TumbleDry Low, so I have to do that plug, y'all, because without TumbleDry Low, I would not be able to be here to do this podcast with y'all, and I'm gonna keep bringing it. I also want to encourage you to stay tuned. I will be having guests for our first few episodes. It may just be me. Listen, I know it's getting late and it's getting long. If you haven't already, please think about joining us in the TumbleDry Village. Again, there's going to be multiple communities. So again, if you're someone that's like, hey, I want to come in and I want to learn more about, how to be a better manager, how to be a better leader. Well, I want to be able to talk to other leaders who have been through this. If you're someone that's like, look, Monique, I am somebody that is currently in the dryer that is harming me, and I need to figure out what strategies I should take to get out of that cycle. Let me know, talk to me. I coach folks all the time, and this will be a group coaching model where you can talk about what those strategies could be. And again, if you need some one-on-one, some of y'all, if you're on that leadership side, you're probably gonna need some executive coaching. You're probably gonna need some one-on-one coaching. And if you're like, hey, Monique, based on the way that my bank account is set up, I can't afford, and I understand that, because sometimes these dryers, y'all, will leave y'all out here too dry. Like, they don't always build in enough PD, which is professional development for us. They don't always give us enough resources to actually grow and be better. And I totally get that. Like, I've had to come out of my pocket often to make sure I am getting developed myself. So I totally get that. So, there's groups like, of course, TumbleDry Village, check us out. That's through the TumbleDryLow.com website. We are starting TumbleDry Low Village because sometimes it takes a village to raise a leader, y'all. It takes a village. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a leader. And so when you come to TumbleDry Village, we have different groups there so that, maybe you need to kind of be in community with people learning together. Maybe you're tired of doing everything on your own. But either way, even if you do or don't come to TumbleDry Village, please get you some executive coaching. Please get you some support. Please change your behaviors. Please do some reflection, right? Please embrace gratitude practices, because I do need you to make sure that you're showing up better and best for yourself. Maybe I want to bring in and develop our own restorative justice community here, right? So I love employee resource groups. I love employee communities, right? I love interest groups. And so if you want to create an employee resource group that is a restorative group, that is where I can teach them how to navigate conflict, how to hold conferences between and among employees, right? Where I can also create and give them tools to know, just in general, how do I deal with my own conflict in my own team, right? There's different things that we offer. So I want to encourage y'all again to check out TumbleDryLow.com. Again, I'm hoping to bring some amazing guests to y'all to share their experience in their own dryers, the lessons they've learned, things they're navigating, right? Whether they are doctors, lawyers, nurses, engineers, you name it, I'm bringing everybody in, because I think it's important to think about how we experience drivers from every vantage point in there. And then, of course, I'm bringing in the folks that are building these dryers, y'all. I want to bring in the other CEOs who are building these dryers, because I need to know, what are you doing that is working well, and what are you doing, and what have you done to improve? Because the employees want to know, okay? So again, send me your questions. Drop a comment. Drop your questions in the comments. I will definitely read them to help frame some of our future episodes. I also want to invite you to follow us at TumbleDry Pod, which is at TumblePod on all major socials. Please like and subscribe us on YouTube, y'all. Please share this. This is awesome. It's my first podcast. I'm your host. I'm your girl. I'm your work bestie, Monique LaShon. Check us out if you want to find out more about my business. Y'all know how to find that. Of course, I'm gonna drop the plug in the link. But if you're like, look, girl, you dope and all, I want to keep listening, just keep listening, keep liking, keep subscribing. It's been real. Deuces.